What's up, everybody? This is Wil Reynolds, and I'm back for lesson 3, how to look at your competitors using big data. Now imagine, I don't know if you're like me, but up until I started using big data tools and business intelligence tools, I would ask my client, who are your competitors? And they would give me 5 or 10, and then I would go out to a bunch of different tools and put in those URLs and try to bring that data into Excel or G Sheets and start to analyze it. But the thing that I've learned looking at bigger data sets is very often the competitors that my clients thought they had were not always the ones that were actually winning on Google, but I was able to see that at scale. Sometimes I would look at as many as 100,000 competitors at a time, ranking in the top 20 for my clients' keywords. So let's go. All right, so what you have here is you've got Power BI. I'm gonna go to get data, because that's what I wanna do. I wanna get data, get my belly. So now I'm gonna take my search query report out of paid, and I have shown you how to pull this report to make it really easy for yourselves. Load it in. Then I'm gonna get my next data set, which is my top 20 report. Load this in. And now, in order to make a visual that combines both of these data sets, you have to create a relationship between these two. So I go to Manage Relationships, I click on New, I look at my one data set, I say search term, I look at my other data set, and I say keyword. I'm gonna do a one-to-many join, I want it to be both ways. And now they're connected. So with this connected data, I can now look at my paid keywords, which brings in things like conversions and costs. So we're talking about money and actual conversions for our client, and who are the competitors that show up for that. Now remember, this is a fake data set, so don't be trying to look at my data and figure out who our clients are. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to build a tree map, and I'm gonna bring in my domains out of my top 20 report. But oh, if you're like me, when you bring in most reports, it just brings in the URL. So I've got to make a domain. How do you do that? You go back to Edit Queries. Once you're in Edit Queries, what you're going to do is you're going to say, hey, I want to go to my top 20 report, or this is Power Query Editor, rather. And then I say, well, hey, I've got this list over here of URLs, but I want to turn that into a domain. So for me, I right-click, and I say add a column from that example. So now what I'm going to do is here's a little pro tip in here. If you pick a domain that doesn't have a www in front of it, it will almost always get this completely right without you having to write any special formulas. So I'm going to pick Stack Overflow. So now what you can see is that by just typing in Stack Overflow, the tool kind of figures out what it thinks that I want in that column, and it populates the rest of the column for me. So I click OK, I rename this domain, and why don't we just get rid of those wwws, because why not? Let's go to replace values, www. Replace with nothing, OK, and then we're going to go to close and apply. It's a lot of data we're going through. Okay, I'm back. So now the data's run, and now you can see over here, I've got domain. So I'm gonna make domain my grouping. So now that means every little colored box in my tree map is going to be a different domain. And then I want to count up the number of keywords and make that my value. So now what you can see for this data set is these are all of my competitors. Now I don't know about you, but like I said before, think about how many competitors you typically look at. And in this data set, I am looking at, I'm going to make a little card here, and I'm going to say count the number of unique domains. So I bring domain in, change it from first domain to count distinct. I'm looking at 47,000 different domains ranking somewhere in the top 20 for keywords that we're ranking for. But keep in mind, you also have conversion data in here. So don't just talk to your client about this page shows up a lot or this domain shows up a lot. I want to know that it's a domain that's showing up a lot for keywords that I actually care about. So a couple things I want to do. One, I want to create a rank slider. So I make a slicer for ranking. So now I can say, who are my competitors in the top 10? Looks slightly different versus the top 5 versus the top 3. See how quick and easy that is? Freaking delicious. All right, so let's keep that at 20 right now. But then, like I said, I also want to look at things that are converting so I don't get distracted from keywords with search volume. I want to talk about money. So I'm going to go into my search query report, and I'm going to say, bring in conversions here. And because my data sets are married, they're now all easily connected to where I can say, I only want to look at words that drove at least 1 conversion, or maybe 10 conversions, that rank between 1 and 10. And now you can see I've gone down to 655 domains versus 47,000 because I'm selecting different criteria. Now, if you really wanted to get cute, you could also start to categorize your keywords. So one of the easy things you can do is I could create a page level filter by keyword and say I only want keywords that contain Seer. Okay? And now I'm just looking at the competitors that just contain that word. Or I could say SEO, or I could say Facebook. And there you go. Now, I wasn't planning on giving you guys this extra special tip, but I figured I got a little extra time, so I might as well. Another one of my favorite things to do, let me clear this out, is to add in a drill down. So what I really like here is I've got my chart, but you say, oh, okay, so YouTube ranks. But what I really want to know is, well, how many URLs does YouTube rank for? And how often do those URLs show up for keywords that I care about? So what I can do is instead of just having the domain, I can also bring in my ranking URL. Let me make sure I get the right one here. And I drag it below domain. So you'll notice that nothing's changed. But what I can now do is I can right click and do a drill down. And now I get each URL on YouTube and how many keywords they rank for. So if you're wondering, well, what keywords are those? You just create another box. And you say, bring in my keywords and bring in my conversions next to it. Why not? So now what I can do is I can click on this URL and say this URL ranks for these words and they do convert for me in a really meaningful way. So what I hope is that now you are ready to build this yourself and start to look at tens of thousands of competitors instead of 10. You'll look a lot smarter to your clients and they'll thank you for it. You'll find more opportunities to win. Please leave a comment below if you get stuck or have any questions. We'll be more than happy to help you get this thing solved. Thanks so much. See you next time.